What's up, YouTube? Preston here, and today I thought that I would talk about another one of my favorite video game franchises, which is Borderlands. And I think my plan is to jump between different franchises that I enjoy, and then maybe do some deep dives into some of the more nuanced stuff, maybe a bit of lore stuff. I don't know, something like that. And then, like, what I wanted to do is some alternate game ideas, like alternate stories for these things. And the springboard for this alternative series that I'll do at some point, because I'm still figuring out this YouTube thing, is that I want to talk about Borderlands 3 and what went wrong. Because I'm not a fan of the story at all. Apologies, by the way, I'm getting over a cough. It's that time of the year, so I might sound like I'm dying. Well, I am, but in the regular slow sense, not in the, because of a disease or something, or sickness. So anyway, Borderlands. There was, I guess, to introduce the franchise for those of you that don't know. So Borderlands is set a few hundred years after, right now, basically humanity's expanded into space, and corporations have become massive. They've expanded everywhere, and they have their own paramilitary units. So there are these locations called vaults that house incredible power or loot to be discovered. And so corporations try to find them, but usually it's individuals called vault hunters that go in and try and find and loot them and everything. So that's like the very basic premise. But more specifically, talking about the main planet that all three games have taken place on, although Borderlands 3 has expanded into other worlds. But Borderlands 1 and 2, and most of Tales from the Borderlands, the first one, I know there's a second one out now, but the first one all take place on Pandora. And Pandora is basically a penal colony. I have a message. She's gonna put this on mute. Hold one. So, anyways, there's corporations that have their own, like, prison system, and so they sent scientists and equipment down to the planet to try and look for the vault, and then they send their prisoners there as cheap labor. Well, Pandora is on a 7-year cycle of being frozen, and then about, I think it's 3 years is not completely frozen. Well, at the end of this 7-year cycle, the fauna unfreezes and becomes a massive nuisance. And to the point where it's difficult to maintain operations on the planet. So the corporations just pull out. And they leave the scientists behind, some of them, and then they leave the penal colonists behind, which is a lot of them. And so they become the raiders and bandits and stuff. And so the world is all zany and crazy, full of insane people. And as vault hunters, you're not exactly innocent yourself, but the basic premise of the game mechanically is it's a looter shooter, and it's probably the most prominent one. And there's a bit of and I'm using modern vernacular here, an RPG mechanic. I have my own definition of what a role-playing game really is, but modern day terms for RPG is using skills and stats and level ups and that kind of thing, where you build a character. So yeah, this is basically it's a gun RPG game, and it's also involves a lot of looting. Not only are the characters leveled, but the enemies are too, as you'd expect, but your weapons are leveled too. So there is an uncountable amount of different customized options that can spawn from enemies or from chests or whatnot, and it's so much fun. I love it so much. Anyways, so that's the basic premise of Borderlands. Oh, and each character has like their own speciality and their own kind of like power. So the 4 original characters, Roland is the soldier class, and he can drop a turret that does all sorts of things. And of course, it shoots stuff, but it can also heal allies. It can like regenerate ammo and that kind of thing. It's like he's more of like a he's like an all-around guy, but also can support his friends. And then there is Mordecai, which is the hunter, and he's like a sniper character, and his power is that he can throw out his pet Bloodwing, and it'll attack enemies. It'll actually steal loot from them, and it's a lot of fun. And then there's Brick, which during my first playthrough was my favorite because he just likes to punch things, and you're the tallest character too, and you can irritate, as I did, your companions that are fighting because you're so big and they can't shoot through you, and you just pop, 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 pop. Yeah, it's fun. You just go up and beat things. It's like the barbarian class, And then finally, you have the Siren, Lilith, who has sirens in this universe have like psychic-like powers that do different things. So in Lilith's case, she can I forgot what the power is called, but she can like blitz, and whenever she ends, so she'll go like ethereal, and she'll move really fast, and when she ends her etherealness, it creates like a nova, and it damages enemies. Like she'll like punch something and so yeah, sirens, we're gonna get back to them. All right, so Borderlands 1, the basic premise is that, you're looking for a vault. It's very, very basic. So, fun story. I had a buddy of mine in the Air Force. He was very much a hermit. But what he would do is he got so desperate for a friend to play with that he bought me a copy of the game, never played it before, bought me a copy of the game, and bought me a copy of 1 year's subscription to Xbox Gold, just so he could have a friend to play with. And I'll be ever grateful for him. But because of him, I found a franchise that I love. And I got into the game, I enjoyed it. So anyways, there isn't much, there's world development. You introduce some of the characters that are going to be seen in the other games. But it ends with you opening the vault. Turns out there is this creature in there that is not loot, but is like an actual monster that you have to slay. And you still get some loot out of it, but you don't actually go into the vault. And it kind of just ends there. Now there's like DLC, which I've actually not played, one of which sets up Hyperion. And Hyperion is the main like army that you're fighting against in Borderlands 2. So going forward, by the way, I should mention there's going to be some major spoilers because I have a lot to say, and so spoiler warning right here going forward. So Borderlands 2, you finally have like a real main antagonist called Handsome Jack. Best villain of all time, in my opinion. I love the guy. I love his charisma, his humor, and he's always ragging on you. Like through the entire game, he's always a constant like annoyance or threat. But you're also kind of you're also annoyance and threat on him. So it's, I don't know, the voice actor was great. The lights are awesome. So, anyways, Borderlands 2, you have introduced to 4 new Vault Hunters, and you go through, and eventually the DLC added 2 more. And in that game, you're trying to you team up with the old Vault Hunters, and you're trying to stop Handsome Jack because he's trying to wake up another monster called the Warrior and use it to wipe out all the bandits on Pandora. And he's got his own motivations for doing that. But by bandits, he means every like living soul on Pandora. So Roland creates a faction called the Crimson Raiders, who used to be the Crimson Lance. And so you all team up with him. Eventually Roland gets killed. Very sad how they did it, but it was like a good like death. It really was impactful. You didn't see it coming, and it just happened. It was a very impactful scene. Anyways, the game ends with you killing Handsome Jack, and then before the credits roll, so Lilith basically becomes the de facto leader of the Crimson Raiders, and you see an image of vaults in other worlds, which is a prelude to Borderlands 3. After that, they came out with Borderlands the pre-sequel, which went more into Jack's backstory. And in that, they set up more about the what's on Elpis, which is Pandora's moon, and the vault that's inside it, and the prophecy of Borderlands 2 happening. And it talks a little bit more about the alien creatures called the Seraphs, or the Iridians, I guess. Yeah, so those are interesting. Pre-sequel starts with one of the characters from the first Borderlands DLC, Athena, being interrogated by Lilith, and you can see like how Roland kept his cool. It was a natural leader. Lilith is not. She's trying to be. She's struggling with the burden of leadership. But mourning Roland's death, which was they were in love with each other, Roland and Lilith. So mourning Roland's death and having to take up this responsibility for her team in the aftermath of Jack's downfall. So it's a heavy burden. Well, keep this in mind. Pre-sequel ends with basically Athena's narrating your whole playthrough of Borderlands the pre-sequel. So Lilith says, okay, we got our information from her, kill her. And Mordecai and Brick are like, whoa, this isn't us. We're not like that. And Lilith's like, I don't care, just kill her. So her men go to raise their guns and to shoot at her, and then one of those Seraph things shows up, psychically blocks the bullets, and says, you're going to need all the Vault Hunters for what's about to come. So another like, hey, look forward to the sequel, Borderlands 3. Then Tales from the Borderlands, which was done by a completely different company, but set in this same universe using the same animation style, follows not some Vault Hunters, but just some regular blokes just trying to make it in the world of Borderlands. And it sets up it does a lot of setup for other things. It sets up Vaughn as the bandit leader that you find in Borderlands 3. Well, not completely, but it sets him up to be on Pandora. And as well as Reese, eventually running Atlas. It does more backstory on Jack, but it's telling a story from the aftermath of Hyperion after Jack. What's it looking like now? And it goes through all sorts of twists and turns. Anyways, before Borderlands 3 came out, there was a final DLC for Borderlands 2, 10 years later, or I guess 8 years later at the time, talking about, hey, this is DLC, and I think they released it for free, and this is set up for Borderlands 3, called the Assault on Sanctuary. And it's just about that. It's you're playing Borderlands 2. You get to start off as a level 30 character if you don't have one. And you can start doing that quest. And for that one, it sets up Vaughn becoming a bandit leader, running a bandit gang. And you're helping him with that. Unfortunately, Scooter died in the pre-sequel. So it sets up Ellie as running the catch-a-ride system. and I guess Lilith really embracing being a leader. Even though she still struggles with it, she's, I guess, better now or something. So you got this setup of, okay, we got the pre-sequel character Vaughn running the bandit stuff. We got this alien prophecy that you need every Vault Hunter you can find for what's coming next. And you got the Vault Key, which they had on Sanctuary and then lost during Sanctuary's downfall. And the ending scene is it shows it just kind of rolling around in the desert somewhere. Borderlands 3, it follows up with Vaughn very briefly. And then it's set like 5 years later. And somehow this, not another big major corporation, but just two random sirens, one of which is a dude, because usually the sirens are exclusively female, summon this billion-strong army, or whatever, of just bandits. Okay, you don't have a maniacal mastermind like Jack running things. It's these two knockoff, like, TikTok or Twitch streamer, like, Zoomer relatable enemies, and their lines are just really cringy, and they're not threatening to me. I'm not afraid of them at all, because they just don't have the same gravity that Jack did. They don't have the same threatening presence, the same like confidence. And like there's like the one scene where let's say Lilith and the two sirens are fighting off against each other, and Lilith is just sort of standing there and then doing these like Kamehameha attacks, and then it's like all this like slow fight, which is not like her at all. So it's, I don't know, like, I guess 5 years really ages someone, but that just seems silly. You'd think that's 5 years more of her practicing her siren abilities, but no, she just becomes this big target. And then she just loses her power. She just lets it happen. She doesn't try and phase walk or anything. She just, it's gone. Oh no. And then the bad guys and girl is able to now just use her power as not only as good as Lilith did, but way better, and can now phase summon bandits anywhere on like any planet. Like really overpowered. And then later on, the Borderlands 2 character Maya gets a very brief introduction or reintroduction. Yeah, you get to go with her for like one mission, and then she gets not only her powers taken, but she gets killed. And then now the other one's able to use phase lock just like that. Like no trading, no. We have like it's like a Star Wars situation right now. Like there was no development for these characters at all. And unlike Roland, who had like half of the game's story with him being involved with your characters, and then his death, where you at least got to like relate with him and his struggles and follow with him on how he, transitioned from the original game. So you don't get that with Maya. She just shows up, and then you get a brief bit of story, and it introduces the worst protagonist ever. So there's a word I want to say, but I want to stay appropriate for the audience. Let's just say it starts with a C and ends with a T. It has the word "un" in the middle. So we'll call her Drama for now. So Drama, she is apparently like 18 years old. She looks like she's 12 or maybe 14. And she does nothing but whine and complain and acts like some kind of, prepubescent teen, like you'd expect. And then Maya gets killed, and she's blaming everyone else but herself because she wasn't supposed to be on the mission, but she showed up anyway. And so Maya tried to protect her, and then that got her distracted, and that's what killed her off. And then Lilith is like trying to suck up to her. It's like, Lilith, what happened to you? What happened to your character from the last one to this one? Again, it's another Star Wars situation, which I'm gonna have to make another video on Star Wars specifically, where it's like, okay, you're not incorporating the characters that built the franchise into this. You're just like, you have them in there for fan baiting, and then now it's like, okay, they're not that important anymore. We have these new characters now that they're taking the spotlight, and we're just kind of forcing it on you. There's no real development or anything. And okay. They didn't follow up with the alien thing, or the alien prophecy. Didn't follow up with that at all. Barely used anything from Tales. So, like, none of that stuff mattered. Really. Like, where'd the Seraphs go? It sounds like they were going to be more involved in this next one, but no, they just... nothing. I mean, other than some basic enemies, but that's it. And then... Okay, so get this. So, the game ends with the twins, the bad people, defeated. But Elpis was, like, used as a part of a vault summoning experiment. And now it was like, it's going to crash into Pandora or something. So Lilith gets her powers back. And there's this phrase that Drama used that says that she's like, oh, Maya used to say that heroes run toward the fire. And so what she does is she jumps towards the moon and then Phoenix the moon and, like, I don't know, stops it or fixes it or pauses it. And she names Drama as the leader of the Crimson Raiders. I'm sorry. There are way more qualified people in your party, Lilith, that would work way better. Okay? I know Ellie's running Catch a Ride, but she is a strong, independent woman. Okay? For all you woke types out there, Ellie would have been a perfect choice for this role as a leader. Or Tannis, even though for some reason they gave her siren powers, which was stupid. Okay, she was good enough as a nuanced character on her own. She didn't need that. But Tannis probably would have made, well, I'm not all about a great leader, but would have been better than Drama. Or Mordecai and Brick or something. Or one of the other classic, or one of the Borderlands 2 Vault Hunters. Like Accident or something. The choice of using Drama is just, it blows my mind. And there was some kind of interview saying that that one of the devs was talking, it's like, oh, well, there's going to be DLC, you know, kind of really further explaining why we made the choices that we made. It's like, yeah, no, dude. That's the problem with content creating now, is if you need alternative stories to fix your main story, okay, to me that speaks of corporate greed, but it also means that you did a bad job, okay? Anyway. I have a fan fiction alternative, but I don't want to go into it tonight. I think that I'll go into it at another time. But Borderlands, I don't know what's going to happen with 4, but I've heard some rumors on the internet that it's going to be completely different than what we're used to. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just like Star Wars. or Marvel for that matter. The franchise is just dead, and now we get to watch the fire. So sorry to end this on a sorrowful note, but I do have an alternative story in mind that I think would, and I need to do more research because I want to come at this with a bit more information and kind of come at it across a lot more convincing than how I'm sounding right now. To end on a lighter note, talking about that sort of fan fiction Borderlands 3, because I'm a big fan of Lovecraft and stuff, and I know that sounds weird to interject into a Borderlands game, which is a lot more zany than that, but the idea here is to introduce some kind of grand, monstrous villain, just like in Borderlands 1, but this one has intelligence and gives reason to all of the chaos that's happening in the Borderlands universe. Why everyone's a bit, like pretty much everyone, like even in the civilized worlds, it's a bit twisted in the head, and to have like some kind of like deeper meaning behind it. So I'm super excited to reveal my story to you, but that's gonna have to wait for another time because Preston needs to get to bed. So anyways, I've been your host, Preston, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.
Wasn't that fun? Let's try something else.